So welcome today. I'm very excited to have, this is the third week running. Before I kick off, I would like to, well, admit one person more.
I think that's been continuous for a while yet, George.
I know. Look, there's another one. So we've got a few people. I'd like to start with a welcome to the country. And I begin today by acknowledging the traditional custodians of this land on which we gather today and pay my respect to their elders, past and present. I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders peoples here today too. Very excited to kick off Pause Fest online. These are carefully curated 7 free sessions for all of you to consume from Pause Awards expert panel of judges on the topics that they love and do. So the whole thing kicked off on 28th of July. It runs until 8th of September, every Friday, midday, for approximately 45 minutes, 30 minutes of chats, and then you have 15 minutes to ask questions. But if you have any questions, I will continuously update, put them in a chat. I will pick it up and put it in a conversation. Please keep your videos off and sound so you don't get mixed up with the presentations. Today, 11th of August, how to quantify an idea is the topic, with Nima Idel, Joseph, Nima Idel from Loop IT, Anyo Rahabi from Good Eddie, and Amir Ansari, design leader. I will ask again people to take off their videos. Joseph, I'm trying to find as I'm hosting, but it's a bit difficult. Joseph, can you take off your video, please? Thank you. I'll try to mute you, but I can't find it here in. Oh, hi, Joseph. Yep. Okay, here we go. That's it. So I'm sorry for this, guys. Multitasking here. So we're going to dive today in the critical aspects of quantifying an idea, understanding when to persist or pivot, and navigate the startup innovation dilemma. Harness market feedback, balance user input with strategy, and comprehend an impact of the customer adoption lifecycle. Very excited about this one. So we hope to learn a lot in this session. Next week, however, we have a completely different session, The Future of Connection, with Vandal Collective and Ellis Jones Agency. All the sessions are live, and as I said, we'll include Q&As from the audience. You can drop again questions whenever you like in the chats. And with that, I want to start introducing guests, and we can kick off. There's a lot more people joining. Amazing. Hello, Greg. And Nima is a seasoned product leader with over 15 years of experience in product management and design. He has demonstrated excellence in leading cross-functional teams, setting strategic direction, and delivering market-leading products. Anyo has 14 plus years of experience in the food processing and packaging industry, with expertise in strategy, business development, and growth, and passion for sustainability. And Amir is an experienced product executive, mentor, and public speaker with a track record of building and scaling design and innovation capabilities to deliver successful products. Thank you all. I think we're going to have a pretty exciting conversation today. A lot of excitement. Would love to kick it off and, well, add some more people. Yeah, just ask you a first question. How do you know when to stop or pursue an idea? I'll just ask again everybody to mute their video and audio. There's still people coming through, and there's actually a lot of people in this session. So I'm just trying to toggle and make sure that everybody's on silent. Thank you very much for respecting the speakers.
So you might want to repeat your question, George.
Sure. So how do you know when to stop pursuing an idea? I'd love to ask Nima.
All right, evening all. I've got a few views on this. There are, I guess, 3 stages I would say you want to validate. One is the idea, one is your product, and the other one is your business model. So I think like there are 3 points that as you grow, you want to test and learn. The idea is the cheapest, easiest one. Fundamentally, you can do some quick hacks to find out if there's potential market for your idea, if there's any competitors, and if you have a unique selling point that could go from 0 to 1 for your business quite quickly. I think the easiest way, and I've done this many times, I'll give you an example of how quickly you can turn an idea into a product. I was working for a big insurance company, and I was kind of challenging the business model and wondering if we could do something called, like a little bit, I wouldn't say innovative, but a step towards innovation with micro insurance, meaning that you could insure against a certain type of situation. So I came up with an idea for rain insurance. So if you have an event outdoors or whatever, and it rains on the day, you get paid out. Very, very simple, very easy as an idea. The guys writing the policy would have a heart attack, but the quickest way I could do it, I created a landing page and I sold the idea, and I just got people to buy a pre-order. I told them if they buy now, we'll reserve or credit card hold $50 on the day that it rains. If it rains, they'll get $250 back. And so what I did was I got pre-orders, and I got like, it was about 100, and then it kept going, and the business told me to stop because it was crazy. But the idea was there. And it's quite easy to manage the risk because, you know, we've got meteorology forecasts, so you can actually tell if the likelihood of rain would be on those days and so forth. So I minimized the risk in testing this idea, but it was as simple as putting up a landing page and proposing the solution to events. So I went on Facebook pages for people that were wedding planning. I went to Facebook pages where people were looking at birthday parties and local event park parties. And I posted the idea and I said, hey, is anyone worried about the rain coming up in the next fortnight? I found this cool website. You might want to check it out. It was as simple as that. It was an idea. I hadn't tested the business model. I hadn't tested the value proposition. I hadn't tested the market. I just wanted to see if it was worth pursuing. I think we had like a few thousand orders of magnitude, and we had to stop and pause and then address it. And I made sure that we had the right thing, and if it rained, we would pay out. But it was a very good business model, and it kind of showed the business that I was working for, how quickly you could go into micro insurance as an idea, that there's a market for it, especially in specific cases where there's a high user need or a customer need, where the pain point is high, and there tends to be minimal number of solutions around. So I went for the absolute basic fear of something that would go wrong and minimizing that going wrong. That's insurance, for example. I've had ideas where I've literally went out and sold a product before it's even out. So building a bridge, as I say, while you're crossing it. Now, ideas are the easy part. I would say validating an idea relatively is probably 1% of the effort involved in making an idea happen, and everyone loves the idea. We tend to get a dopamine hit when we come with something new. Our brain rewards us for something new, but very little people actually go and take that into fruition. It's the execution that matters. So validating an idea, from my perspective, you can do as simple as landing pages, polls, do some social testing, see if anything trends on TikTok or Instagram. You can do some market research. You can actually start asking friends and family. It's not as hard as anyone thinks. It's not costly. I think the cost to acquire insight is quite minimal. But when you start going to looking at how that might look like as a product or as a business, that's when the price and expertise exponentially increases, and you need to be more due diligent in your assumptions and how you might take it to market and what your cost would be, what your cost to acquire a customer are, and more of that. I guess business logic and business strategy. But,
okay, just a quick just to jump in. When is a good time to stop pursuing idea? When would you decide, I've tried this, I've tested, I've put it out, it is kind of, is it working, is it not working? When do I stop it? Or
I mean,
is it kind of doing something that is working but not doing some other things?
you know, as the more experience I get, the more I'm humbled to say that there may be not a time that you want to stop. And that comes with, I guess, passion and perseverance in your vision. Canva took a long time to get up and running, right? The person who created the egg cart, I was listening to a billionaire story, and he basically was pursuing a very simple idea of carrying eggs in a bag, and he couldn't, the eggs were breaking, and he pursued on creating a solution. He was a biochemist engineer. And he decided to create the egg cart, and then now it's a global phenomenon, but it took like 10 to 15 years to get into the market, and then for the market to adopt and saturate, etc.
Yep.
I think if you deep down believe it's a core problem you're solving, and again, it starts with, do you know anyone that's experiencing it, and is that pain higher than the pain of others starting to do something different? What I mean is the pain they're experiencing with the problem more than the pain it would be for them to change the way they're doing something? If it is, you're probably on a path of creating something that is worth pursuing. But if the pain of something is minimal and the pain of change is high, it's probably not worth pursuing, because what you're asking for is a psychological and psychosomatic kind of change, and that is harder to do and push people to change, is a lot harder than you think, when the reward, or the, let's say, first belief of reward is quite low from potential customers.
Okay, fantastic. Is anybody else has anything to add to this?
Anya, do you mind if I just jump in quickly? Look, Nima covered quite a lot of stuff. Thanks, Nima. And you basically took the words right out of my mouth when you first started around the 3 types of stages. I wanted to sort of elaborate on what Nima talked about. The strategizer has the model of, they talk about three times where fit needs to be measured and tested, right? So what Nima talked about at the start was the problem solution fit, right? That's the first stage. You've got an idea. Are you solving the problem, removing the pains and gains and so forth? Then you can still tick the box and move it to the next phase, which is the problem solution. The product market fit. Now you've got the product in the market. There's still opportunities for you to fail, right? So you need to then go through the process of measuring and understanding if your product's fit for market. Then you tick that box. But there's still a third opportunity for you to fail, which is your business model is not set up correctly, right? So then we talk about business model fit. And so I think that there are 3 key stages where, products can fail, or startups need to be open to the idea to pull the plug. A couple other things that I want to add to Nima's point is that, I've been mentoring and coaching startups both through RMI TVMS and Blackbird Ventures and all that sort of stuff. And it's amazing how many individuals come to me with their idea with so many cognitive biases, with very little evidence. Hey, me, I've got this idea. Okay, so how can I help you? I want to know where to get funding. And I'm going, well, hang on. You're way too early for funding. You've just got an idea in the back of your head that's sitting right there. You've got some confirmation bias because you've talked to your cousin, your next door neighbor, your partner. You have no evidence to suggest that this thing even has legs. And I often talk to them about my role as a mentor or coach isn't to tell you that your idea sucks or not. It's about giving you the tools and techniques so you can go and find out the answers to that. But often I'm finding that many startups, many founders don't have the basics of, hang on, at the moment, it's just an idea. I don't have any evidence. I don't have the number of people who click Nima's little Facebook ad to even collect some data to go, oh, there's something in this. They often just go, I've talked to 3 or 4 people. They think it's a great idea. So now I need to go and get funding. And that's, I can guarantee you, 99% of the time you will fail, because the people you're going to go and get money from will ask those very hard questions for which you have no answers for. So, but your question on when is the best time to, I guess, stop an idea? I often go, if you capture all the list of hypotheses, the assumptions that you have, all the questions that you have, and prioritize them from, the most important to least important. That's a clue at which point, if you have an answer that's a negative or null, then that's potentially where you stop. Or, as Tanim has suggested, there's an opportunity to pivot. You know, there is always an opportunity to, you know, not necessarily go stop and start a binary, but you know what, maybe I need to tweak this. Maybe it's not for this target market. And funny enough, again, I was talking to another founder yesterday who initially sent me a pitch deck and said, I'm starting with this cohort. And when we caught up for our mentoring the day after, he goes, actually, I've pivoted. I've realized through a little bit of research that this is not the right target market, and I'm going to go for that. And that's a fantastic, I guess, a skill that founder has to go, you know what, I'm going to be open to constantly question my idea and pivot and build the cheapest thing I can. Again, to Nima's point, single landing page probably took him an hour, right? Maybe even less, to get as much data as possible to go, okay, the sniff test, in effect. Is there something in this that it's worth me pursuing or not? Anyway, that's my little rant.
Awesome. What's the percentage of people falling in love with the idea versus those that test the idea, do you think?
Okay, so just quickly from my personal experience, I've coached probably about 10 or 11 founders, and I'd probably say 8 of them are obsessed with the idea. It's their passion thing. They grew out of because they were talking to their partner, or they experienced that problem themselves. So great, there's a single data point, but I've had no evidence to back. They've done nothing besides, I'll put a pitch deck together and I need to go and get some funding. Well, before you go and do some funding, you can do very cheap and dirty research, zero cost, to get that data to give you that sniff test. So for me, it's been a very high percentage who don't do the basics. But I'm not sure if Anya has the same experience.
Anya, would you like to add to this as well?
Yeah, what I would like to add, I think as a foundation, and before even getting to, I have an idea, really thinking about what problem that idea is going to solve. Many of us, we have ideas, but sitting down, pick up a paper and writing down, why do we think this idea is going to work? What is it doing? They're solving a problem. Or there are other alternatives in the market that cannot do what I am going to do. It's a very simple but very interesting exercise to do, to pick up those 5-10 things that we believe is going to work and be able to articulate that. That comes throughout the whole journey of this startup or building that idea or that business. If as a foundation, a founder cannot articulate that correctly, I don't think it can evolve to other steps of the startup. So I think that's an essential step to take.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna.
I was gonna say one more thing. Was I think with just going along with Anya's is what if you're looking for funding, if you're looking to raise, if you're looking to start a business, be passionate, obsessed with the problem. Go for cause and effect. Find what the problem is, and then you'll find a solution. But if you're passionate about your solution, you may be solving the wrong problem. It starts with the problem. It always starts with the problem. I know it sounds like it gets echoed in every Harvard Business Review or Forbes article, but the idea is every problem has 1,000 solutions. If you're looking for a problem of I'm bored, there's 1,000 solutions in front of you. They all address a different need. If you have a problem with I need to go from A to B, there's 1,000 solutions in front of you that have been put to market that take you A to B, whether it's emotional or it's about time or efficiency or cost. So if you think about the problem, you have many ways of pivoting to find the right solution that meets a market or your idea of a great product. But if you don't know the problem, or if you're kind of ignoring the problem, you're high likely, as when a percentage is 3.5% of businesses fail in the first year, is because they focus on the solution rather than being able to solve the core problem.
I'm sensing here we should probably take a day, one day, to go through this, because this is so much to kind of talk about and really dig into. And so, okay, now we talked about how to stop pursuing and pursue idea, what to do and test. Let's just jump on the other side of the spectrum of, and this has been again another question that at least 2 of you are very passionate about. So let's open it to that and then see what else we can pack into this session. How the consumer or customer adoptions lifecycle impacts your idea and go to market. this is another one of those questions that it's make or break kind of thing. Who wants to go first?
I might take that one if that's okay. I think it was against something I talked about earlier. So not many people know or aware of there's a customer adoption curve, right? And you can just Google it and you'll see it. And it comes in various stages. It's a typical bell curve. At the very start, you've got the very small percentage, what we call the innovators, then followed by the early adopters, and then the mass market comes into the early majority, the late majority, and you got your laggards on the end, which you sort of ignore. And most people, and this is through my consulting experience, I've seen it firsthand as well, that if you've got a new product or you're solving a new problem, the appetite and the sentiment and the behavior of those early adopters and early innovators are very different to the mass market, right? And which is fine. And you often want, when you've got a new proposition, you want those, those innovators who are happy to have a higher risk tolerance or happy to pay a little bit more to buy your product or service and trial it. And they're going to then influence the next, 3 or 4 cohorts. What's really interesting though, is that I've seen founders of products that have gone and target that, that early adopter, that early adopter or innovator, go, great, we've nailed it. We've got it. We've got problem solution. We've got a product market fit. You actually don't. All you've done is that you've highlighted there's a little bit of a niggle of a problem you've managed to solve for a small market who have a higher risk tolerance and happy to pay a little bit more. Now you need to potentially change your go-to-market, change the way you position your product, maybe even slightly change the whole thing to now attract that, that early and late majority customer base, which is your 80, 90%. And where I've seen the products fail is when they take the exact same thing, the same offering, the same messaging, the same branding of that product and go, right, hey, mass market, here you go, right? And they haven't had support from that, sort of those early innovators who can sort of push those early majorities in, or targeted their messaging around that big cohort. And they go, well, hang on, I thought we'd nailed it. And that's where some of those products fail, right? Where they're talking about that chasm between that early adopters and that early majority. So it's really interesting and fascinating and really important for founders who've got that first sniff test to go, oh, I think we've got an idea here. To now understand that the hard work still is yet to come, because they now need to validate it against a bigger cohort of market who are perhaps a bit more cost conscious, they have slightly different behaviors or sentiment, or the jobs they're trying to do is slightly different, right? And so the test doesn't finish. And so there's a little bit of overconfidence from those people who go, oh, I think we've nailed it. And then they realize, holy crap, what happened?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm adding to Ami's point, like it's exactly, again, like a journey. Like at the start, when you answer those questions and you have your hypothesis for those innovators, early adopters. But it's understanding of like all the time you have to move through the curve and answer those questions again and again and again, because you are targeting different part of the adoption curve, and there are different customers. They need different features. They need different messaging, and they need different way to go to hear from you and validate like what you're actually trying to sell every step. Because if you just focus on the beginning, you might fail. And if you just focus in the middle of the curve, which is a mass market, you might never even land. So it is just like going through the process and always working, getting the feedback and cutting through all those basically noises that you hear, but getting the signal how you should adopt and add features or improve.
Okay, thank you.
I think lastly, I'm just going to say that one of the problems that I see a lot is everyone says, oh, it's innovation. Like there's a massive problem with innovation, and I'll tell you what it is. Innovation means doing something different in a new way. And humans, we hate something new. We naturally fight or flight. Like we don't go with adopt. There's no third addition to our brain's reaction to something new. Generally, because it's presented in a way for our biological need to survive. So when it comes to new technology, it takes 7 to 10 years for the market, even early adopters, innovators, to adopt new tech. So we're talking about the digital photography, the digital pictures that we take on our phone. It was invented in 1975. That was the first digital camera. But it took us up to here for us to be mass adoption. So just be careful when you're creating a startup or an idea. Be wary that if you're doing something so new, you also have now a problem, not just a chasm problem of the innovation adoption on the adoption curve, but you have now an innovation curve, a technology adoption curve, which is now you have this barrier, two barriers. One is that it's something new to you're solving a problem in a new way, but you're also solving it with a new technological way, a physical way that has its own problems with adoption. So and that's why I think like startups where say we're X or we're Y, like TikTok spends $1 billion a month on advertising to get adoption, and they're running off the back of every social media stream there was. They've got a great marketing campaign, but they wouldn't be here 15 years ago. So like there are a lot of groundbreaking technology and mass adoption that happened that has created that phenomenon and the ability for people to adopt it. So just be wary when you're coming up with an idea. Electric cars were invented a long time ago. It's only just now that we're thinking about using it as a you know a mainstream way of transportation. So yeah, so I was going to say there's an adoption curve. That's definitely, so if you're doing anything, any idea, there's always naturally going to be an adoption curve. And as you've heard, there are many stages that you need to retest your idea because you're solving the same problem in different ways because they're different customer bases, they're different personas. So as you start going wider and wider in market, your personas start to grow, and you need to consider a lot more pains and adoptions about those customer segments. But technology in itself is also a massive player.
Thank you. I was going to just mention again, if there's any questions, please drop in a chat. And Nima, while I still have you, very quickly, we talked about obviously testing the idea and getting feedback and getting some traction and understanding what is it that you're building and testing audiences. What's the ways to hack your way into getting feedback, if that is an issue?
I mean, feedback, you can go from surveys, polls, social media, friends, phone calls, reading what's in market, reading news articles, reading, trying to understand the problem itself and finding where the source of the problem is, and then trying to find insights. The way I've been doing it is I always start with market research to find out if the problem's there, then go back to what is the actual problem and what's the outcome the customer wants. And then I look at, well, who's likely to want that outcome, and then I start looking for them. So I start like a sniff dog test, and I start sniffing out who that segment is. There's going to be a specific segment, and then I start targeting them whether I do landing pages or surveys, or I start joining those communities on meetup groups or on Facebook groups or Instagram. Like there are many ways. Like there's no single answer. The answer involves who your target audience is and what problem you're solving. If you know who you're targeting, what the problem is, and why it's important, and what the outcome needs to be, those tend to tell you what the age bracket is, what nationality or gender it is, what geographic location it is, at what technology stack or you need to start focusing on, what market segment you're going to focus on. You can just hone in and start literally getting it. But I've done simple testing on company Instagram pages, company TikTok pages, Reels. It's not hard to get feedback. I think the hard part is being able to isolate the insights from that feedback, because if you don't hone in on a proper persona or a proper target audience, the feedback's going to be very diverse, and you're going to be, I think, confused and overwhelmed with the amount of feedback. Because 10 people you interview, if you just go into a local, just people on the street, and you interview 12 people, you're going to get 12 different results because they're random. But if you have a right 12 audiences, I've changed probably the biggest airline here. I've changed their entire digital adoption and digital strategy with 12 interviews for that customer, for that specific customer segment. And this is like a $1 billion company, but all you need is roughly about 12 people to interview. And when you start getting similarities and insights, 8 out of those 12, you're starting to be on the right track. We can start honing in further and further. But 8 to 12 is a good number, but 8 to 12 with a specific cohort in mind. You need to know why they have that pain. What standardized characteristics do they have that you can start actually isolating and pulling out those insights. Otherwise, there's a lot of market noise.
Anya, what can you add to this? What's the best way to test the market and get feedback? Can you add something?
Yeah. So as Nima said, there are multiple different options, and I think it depends on what the idea is, what the product is. But I would say nothing is more valuable than getting the real customer feedback, the real world feedback. Getting in front of the customer, those hypotheses that you have about your potential target, really defining that, getting in front of them, getting that feedback and incorporating in the product, because doesn't need to be perfect. It actually can market something that is not ready and it's still ugly, but getting those feedback from the real customers, so valuable. And providing samples, like putting the idea into practice. I would like to share with you what we did for GoodEddy. So if anybody doesn't know what GoodEddy is, we make edible takeaway coffee cup. In the beginning, we didn't even have the product. We just had some samples. We went to farmers market, and our assumption was that people who go to farmers market, they are more focused on sustainability and they appreciate the product, but we really didn't know. So we did multiple market tests, offering the samples, talking to different people, getting their feedback. And we were very shocked with the response that we got, because we thought, yes, some people might like it, but we were very lucky that it was very overwhelmingly positive, and we were very happy with that. And that gave us the confidence to go to the next step. The other thing that we did in the very beginning of our journey, we did a crowdfunding, which was basically selling our product before even we have produced it. We had different packaging options, with different SKUs that people could buy, but that again, putting it in front of the customer, are you actually going to buy it, before we go through all setting up the production plan, etc. That gave us so much experience and understanding of what people are looking for, and then incorporating that in the beginning of our startup phase, to how to position the product, how to package it, how to sell it, and even smallest things like how many cups in one package should be. Like we had these big assumptions of like we should sell 1,000 cups, but it didn't. It really clearly told us like it's not going to work. So just fine tuning that, testing that, it's very, very valuable.
Thank you. I've tried that cup and it's good. It's tasty.
Thank you.
I drank a coffee and ate the entire cup.
I'll ladder up to that, George.
Can I actually ask you something else? It's kind of leading to this, because just to kind of vary a little bit, when do you stop? Well, when do you not listen the customers?
That's a good question. I knew it was coming. I think we prepared.
It was it, and it's for you.
It's funny, over the years I've collected a bunch of quotes. One is around like what Nima said, around 12 users, and stakeholders say, 12 users isn't statistically significant, which I can respond in a second. Or we don't need to talk to our users. Our users, we know who our users are because we've been doing this for 10 years. Or the one that's aligned to this question is, there's no point talking to users that don't know what they want. And I think there's a bit of a fallacy here again for people. And I know many people on this call that I actually know personally who practice design. So I think they'll probably confirm my thoughts here, is that many people who don't understand research and human-centered design think, you go to George, go, hey, George, do you like this coffee cup? How much do you like it? And you know, so I have the understanding that, you know, observation over asking a user is often what the research method is all about, right? And so, you know, when we talk about when to listen or not listen to a user, it's not going to that user and going, hey, how much do you like this thing? Or, you know, what problem can I solve for you when it comes to coffee cup drinking? Because there's a very broad question to ask. But often it's the questions that you don't ask or the observations that you do make that lead to sort of insights. So that's one of the ways that I get designers who are being pushed back by stakeholders go, no, we don't go and ask the user what they want. We'll observe the user to see what they need, right? So it's the need that we try to clarify. And quickly to the point, I guess Nima made that connects to this one is, and also Anya as well, like they have the luxury of having a product to test, right? And they went through that process. I was just talking to a founder earlier this week who did what Nima said, listen, I've just put a landing page together, smoking mirrors. I've gone, that's fantastic. How did you go? Because I haven't pushed it live yet. Well, why not? because I'm worried that once I get the clicks, then I need to fulfill the promise. And I need to give them something. I don't have a product yet. I don't have an app yet. I've gone, that's okay, because you're not making promises. You're collecting data. And sure, maybe it's where you tweak the message in your thing that says, hey, you can have it tomorrow. But no, it's around be the first to get this once it's live. Or, we're currently, we've got this product in market, or we're trying to experiment with something. How interested are you? Give us something of yours. But if you're being held back by a startup where you've got grand ideas and you're worried about, you're going to make fake promises at this very early stage, you're not going to get anywhere. Because at some point, you got to say something or do something to get someone to click or give something of value back to you, for you to collect the data to go, right, is the sniff test strong enough here? So it's a really interesting dichotomy and barrier around some of these founders go, well, I don't have anything to show. It could be words, it could be a fake website, it could be a landing page, anything. For you, the point is to collect the data and making sure you target the right audience. And then during that second phase where you're doing a product market fit, you got to be open to potentially ditching or pissing off then those early adopters or early innovators, because they're no longer your customers. That's something else that I've seen happen. People get that first and second sort of cohort, go, yeah, we've got that nailed, and they're trying to grow, whereas the sentiment of these two markets are different. And they sort of hold on to this first thing, and therefore the early majority go, well, actually, this product's not right for me. At some point, they need to peel the band-aid of it, and that's saying, my product's now mature. I'm no longer experimenting. I'm no longer targeting that early innovator. I'm now at the mass. The pricing's going to be lower. The feature's going to be different, and so forth. And be able to sort of drop off that cohort to be able to service that bigger cohort. They're often some of the barriers. And what tends to happen is startups continue to listen to those early innovators. Oh, we should have this feature, and should have that feature. But if you're no longer at that stage, you've got to stop listening to those, and you're going to start listening to that bigger cohort of customers who's going to bring in your revenue.
Okay, and we got 5 minutes left. Not many people ask a question. I'm happy about this. I'm happy to ask. We can talk all day. There's a lot. There's one. I'll read it. But in the back, very quickly, if all three of you can tell me what's the great product design example.
I've been talking about my one. I'm happy to quickly go. And it's very dorky, very geeky. It's 1Password. So at the moment, my favorite app is 1Password, which is a password manager. Again, dorky, I get it. But the reason I love it is so many facets. And I guess something else I want to say, every company who thinks they're just building a product are blinded to the fact that they don't realize they're actually building a service. The product that they have goes beyond just that single app. They need to have the entire ecosystem at some point. Anyway, 1Password, why? It solves my problem. I don't have to remember all these passwords. It's got that tick of approval from a security perspective, so I know I'm not going to get hacked. It's got the family sharing. So now I've got my entire family, including my 14-year-old daughter, who's got 1Password in her phone, her tablet, her laptop. Probably the only child in her high school that's doing this. I get notifications when websites that I've got passwords for get hacked. So they've really solved a problem for me. And they've, we talk about pains and gains. They've removed my pain of remembering passwords, but they've added some additional value. For example, hey, we'll let you know when your password's been hacked, or when a website that you're about to get onto is being compromised, or we've given you a Chrome extension, so you no longer have to have the app open at a given time. You just click on here and you can auto-populate. So at the moment, my favorite tool. And again, it's very ironic for a creative designer to go for such a boring app, but I talk about it all the time.
Awesome. Anyo?
Well, I can say what I use kind of every day, Canva. Again, it's very good example of looking at the problem. Like Canva really solve the problem of normal people want to do design. How can we make it easy and accessible to everybody? And you don't need any training tutorials, anything. You just open the app, you can create anything that you want. And I think the simplification around it and the idea that, every normal people want to design, how can we make it simple? They nailed it.
Thank you. And Nima?
The one tool I use every day, personally and professionally, that I didn't think I would use every day is Notion, like the one-stop tool for all tools. Like Jesus Christ, that thing has just become my Bible of everything and anything. So whether it's content, whether it's generating content, whether it's recording my notes and thoughts or to-do lists, or I've just finished up a product wiki template that basically could run an entire product squad of many, and everything that you could ever think of is there. Its power is quite useful. If anyone has a way of wanting to do something, it simplifies the tool to enable you to do it. So it's quite a strong tool.
Amazing. I'm dancing around it. Haven't used it yet, but I kind of use bits and pieces. There was one question I wanted to ask from the people. Is it important for you to be or have experience in the space of the problem you're seeking to solve?
No, I don't think so. And I just quickly responded to Daniel. I think if you do a good enough job of collecting the evidence and having the data to support it, and can clearly and strongly talk about it, the people that you're trying to seek funding from should be able to be convinced, right? Now, some may go, well, hang on, you're trying to solve a finance problem, you don't come from finance. But I think they're very shallow way of thinking for those sort of people seeking to fund individuals. But you need to make your problem and potential solution strongly backed by evidence, so that you have the data speak for itself.
There's a fair few, I think, great products out there with the founders having no idea they're entering the space, and because they don't have those biases that usually people in the space have, they actually can think differently of how to solve that problem and not fall into traps that others already kind of have, and so that potentially is a good thing.
100%.
Anybody else?
Just very quickly, like, I don't think you definitely need the experience, but you really need to have a very, very good understanding of it. So it's researching, reading, listening to expert people. It is important because you need to understand that space before entering into it.
Definitely. Well, this has been action-packed. I might sort of just if there's no questions, Daniel, so thank you. No questions, that stop here. It's been really amazing having you all here today talking about how to quantify an idea. There's definitely a lot to unpack. Can't wait to share this with everybody. The video will be ready today, also the article, and everybody else could watch it, rewatch it, and share it. Thanks everybody again, and have the rest of the day and the weekend awesome.
Thank you. Thanks, George. Thanks,
Bye,
Dom.
everyone.
See you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.